What is the reason why all Christian rock sounds exactly the same? Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Scott Groves with the On the Edge podcast. And since Kyle and Marcy are musicians, they might know that that's about as close as we could get in the intro song to Guns N' Roses without getting a copyright violation. So I am sitting here with my new friends, 3 new friends, actually 4 new friends if you include the baby, if you're watching this on YouTube. But I've got Kyle and Marcy, who are the duet known as Suitcase Souls. That's the name of their band. Then I've got Sarah Moseley, I'll pronounce that right at some point, who is the owner of a company called Songbird City. And I am in love with Songbird City because I'll just give the background story and tee this up. I was like, my wife has everything she needs. She doesn't really need another Lululemon sweatshirt for her birthday or our anniversary or anything. Like, I've got to come up with something interesting. So I went to my crew, my guys at Front Row Dads. Shout out to John Vroman, Front Row Dads, the mastermind, the podcast. And I'm like, hey guys, I need something special for my wife. Like, another date night, another piece of clothing from Lululemon just isn't going to fit the bill for this celebration. What should I get? And one of the guys immediately, like 30 seconds, chimed in and said, hey, I got a song made through Songbird City. It was a specialized song only to my spouse, and my wife loved it. It was amazing. It was for a special event, and they knocked it out of the park. So I go on the website, and I'm like, whatever, it's like $500 or something, but I got a good review. I guess I'll take a flyer on it. I filled in some information, like less than 2 paragraphs of information, and 7 days later, I had this awesome song from Kyle and Marcy singing to my wife, like just our life events, how we met, the name of our kids. And it was I gotta be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I was expecting it for it to be cheesy and horrible and formulaic, but they said, do you want a guy or a girl? Do you want a duet or do you want one singer? Do you want it in the vein of rap, country? And I'm like, we kind of like the Lumineers. Make it sound like that. And sure enough, nailed it.
My dearest Karina, here's a couple verses for you.
Hey, that's for me.
It's what we've 60 plus cousins.
Hey.
And all your siblings.
Where'd you get this song?
They joked
Don't
about
make me
my
cry.
age, but you're so right through you. It all moves so fast.
So first of all, I want to say thank you to all 3 of you for having the business that you have, being the creators you are. Other than obviously having a baby, being a mother and father, Kyle and Marcy, and then Sarah, I know you got a baby that's down for a nap, so we might meet her or him here pretty soon. What did I miss in the 60-second Reader's Digest introduction of you 3 and your business and why you guys are awesome and kick ass?
Oh, man.
Sarah, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah. So, where should I start, Scott? Should I start with the business and how we got started?
Yeah. Why the
know?
business? Like, it's such a unique, like, I find musicians who need to make extra money and I market this. Yeah. Like, how does that even happen? Are you a musician? Like, how did it all start?
Yeah, it is very unique. You're right. It's very specific. I am a singer-songwriter. I've been writing, singing for 10 plus years. I had a lot of experience in writing music for TV and film. I put out a bunch of singles and my own music. And honestly, in 2020, when, everything was shut down and as musicians were looking for extra ways to make extra money, I was literally asking family members if they needed any custom songs for anniversaries or weddings, anything like that. And I was like, I can write it. How much, would you pay for something like that? And I honestly just started doing research and I noticed that custom songs, personalized songs was actually a thing. Like, this was a whole world that I didn't even know about. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I actually made it into a business, but that it was only local to Nashville? Because there's other companies that do it, but there's no company in Nashville that does custom songs. And we are Music City. And so I saw an opportunity.
That doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, all the musicians are either in LA or Nashville. Like, and you guys have, by the way, my opinion, having been born and raised in LA, you guys have the better musicians. So, that's crazy to me that there's not like 8 copycat businesses of yours straight out of Nashville. So congratulations on your blue ocean marketing.
You. Yeah, I mean, we are the first and only custom song company. I'm sure there will be others that pop up as word gets out more about that this is a thing. But so we really started to just dream about it and what is this going to look like? And it really honestly became a mission to help the local creative community here in Nashville of like, hey, we have the best of the best, right? So there's so many to choose from. There's so many amazing people here, but we're also a community. And so it turned into like, this would be really cool for a business and a really cool way to make money, but it's also really cool because it has a mission attached to it to why not support a local Nashville songwriter? Everyone comes to Nashville to get an experience of music, Nashville country songwriters. So you get that one-on-one experience by them giving you a personalized song, and you're also supporting them by allowing them to have another layer of financial income. And a lot of these songwriters, like they're looking for different gigs and different ways to make money, to pay the bills, to put out albums, things like that. And so this is just a wonderful way to support, but then you also get a song for a lifetime. You get something from Nashville. You get what we're all about. And so it's really turned into just this dream that has just been amazing. We have an incredible roster that just feels like a family. And it's just been a blessing for me, even to just be able to get to know everybody and also help them in whatever way that we can.
I love that. So Kyle, Marcy, what's your background? And I'll project on you what I'm thinking, because I have a lot of friends that are, struggling comedians, aspiring actors and whatnot. I just feel like all artistic endeavors, it's like, all right, we do whatever it takes, odds and ends, custom songs, food services jobs, whatever it takes to then follow our passion at night and write music and perform for people. And I'm guessing, much like most entertainment jobs, 95% of the income goes to the top 1 or 2% of earners. So I'm guessing it's like this ongoing battle to try to get your name and your stuff out there. But can you tell us a little bit about your life as artists, and then how do you get hooked up with Sarah to make what ended up being an awesome custom song for my wife, Karina?
Man, well, we had a blast writing y'all's song, and so appreciate you saying that. So glad that you guys liked it. But we're a duo. We've been doing music for maybe the last 10 years professionally, but since 2019 we started releasing music together, which is kind of recent considering we've been married for coming up on 8 years. And we were doing our own thing musically before that, back in Memphis, where we're from. And then we moved to Nashville in 2019, and that was exactly it. When we first moved here, Marcy was doing a full-time job doing a customer service thing downtown for a company. I was working at Starbucks because my background at that time was in food service. And man, it's like you said, dude, I've done every job you can think of. Between the two of us, we've just done it all. Bartending, we played music on a cruise ship right before 2020, so you can guess how that story kind of ended.
Right.
Yep. So we kind of were back to square one, man. I've sold cars, I've sold education. It's insane. You kind of just do what you got to do. But then 2020, enter custom songs, and we were like, well, goodness gracious, we can use our skill set that we thought was only for playing in half empty bars, and playing cover sets. Cause my background as well, while I was doing, the bar gigs and in college and just studying music, which is where Marcy and I met, I was studying songwriting. She was studying worship leading. So, we're working this part-time job at a church. And then the rest of the nights of the week, I'm playing in bars, doing covers, doing like Ed Sheeran, Led Zeppelin, whatever, people want to hear.
That's a pretty big range from Led Zeppelin to Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you have to learn 4.5 hours of cover music cold, you just do everything from like 70s Tower of Power to like all of a sudden, your guitar player is on his knees doing the solo from Purple Rain, and there's some guy from England just like losing his mind in the front row.
I love
that. That's what you see. It's a lot like Broadway, but there's like Beale Street on Memphis is kind of like a mini Broadway. And so when we came here, we said, okay, no Broadway, no rules except no Broadway. And so we decided there's just some things that we weren't going to do. I was in a wedding band. We did the wedding circuit thing, which pays really well. But that's the thing, is it kind of sucks you in and it prevents you from building your music business, which, and don't get me on the soapbox. I promise maybe later in the episode, we'll talk about music business and how to, actually make money from the music other than just kind of the one-off stuff and the performances and things like that. Creating passive revenue streams. That's something I'm really passionate about, helping artists do as well. So we found a lot of alignment with Songbird City. And honestly, it was kind of just it was a cold outreach because we had some friends, Caitlin and Derek, who are Songbird City artists, who are friends of ours. They go to the same church as us. And then we found out Sarah goes to the same church as us. And we found out we had all these connections, and I just kind of reached out because I said, hey, I've dabbled in custom songs before. I love what you're doing. I love that you guys are Nashville specific. You're helping Nashville artists in kind of a boutique offering that I haven't really seen in the industry before. I'd love to write for you. And then things kind of, started from there, and we've had a really, really good experience, and it's really blessed us to be able to spend a little less time just doing all the side hustles and then more time building our music business. So that's kind of our story with Songbird City and custom songs.
Amazing. Honestly,
awesome.
And Scott, like when they first reached out, like the Caitlin and Derek, who they mentioned, they were our only duet option for a husband and wife duo, and they do country. And so Kyle and Marcy reached out, and obviously they're like amazing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, they're like the perfect addition to have another husband and wife duo, but they have such a specific sound that's different from country.
Yeah.
And just like everything that like Kyle was just saying, like that's honestly the drive for the business. Like that's what gets me hungry to make the business even bigger and better, is because I want to support them because they're so amazing. It's like all these artists, they're not only good people, but they're also amazing musicians. And you hear their music and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just want to give them more income so that they can blow up and put out albums. And,
By the way,
like it's just, there's so many different layers.
Speaking of income, I got to give you a business tip, Sarah. You've got to have a way to add a tip jar. Because I was like, all right, well, if this ends up being cookie cutter BS, it was worth the $400 or $500 I paid. I can't remember what I paid. But if it's really good, they probably should have been able to charge like $1,000. And I'm like, but $1,000 is an entry price. When I don't know whether it's going to be garbage or cookie cutter, I probably wouldn't have paid the $1,000. So I think you need to keep your price point where you're at. But like on the email that delivers the song, be like, hey, if you want to tip the artist, here's a tip jar, some type of link or their Venmo or something. Because I would have tipped you all for how great the product was that I received.
Hey, Scott, I'm just saying, man, if you're really hurting for a tip jar, I can supply you with one.
Perfect. We'll find your Venmo at the end of the episode. So Marcy, tell us about your journey into music, because I can't imagine working with my spouse. To me, like my wife is amazing. She would be the most amazing person to support me in my career, but we just don't have that kind of relationship where we can work together. Right. That to me would be like the seventh circle of hell. So what has your musical journey been like? And then where was the decision to work with your spouse and raise a child with your spouse and do a creative endeavor with your spouse? That seems like a lot. Like, thank goodness you go to church. It holds it all together, I hope.
Yes, it does. Yes, and amen. It does. But no, it really, I think it is personality based, because you're right. There are some personalities, like in husbands and wives, you're good spouses, but you may not work the best together. But fortunately for us, I think we've just figured it out. And earlier in my career, working solo, because I was doing a Christian music career on my own. He was doing like an indie rock band thing, and and we were just kind of riding in those lanes. And for a while, for several years, even married, like even as we were writing songs together as Suitcase Souls, we were still not really paying attention to it because we were very focused on our own stuff. And I just, I think one day, we were actually living in Memphis at this time. And it was just one of those aha moments where you woke up one day and it's like, we don't need to be here anymore. We need to be in Nashville. And because of that, it literally forced us to just be the duo. And it wasn't, and I think for us, it wasn't a bad or a sad thing leaving the other things necessarily behind. It was just different, but also like, because we wanted a family, because we wanted to be together, it just made sense.
Right.
And so that's it. And, we fortunately, like I said, we work super well together. We write well together. We balance that out in each other. And so it works for us, but it doesn't work for everybody. And trust me, we have our moments. Like,
right. All couples do, right? All couples do.
Everybody does.
And I am definitely like, especially like when it comes to music stuff and performing, I'm like the lyrics person, and Kyle's like forgetting lyrics constantly. And so I'm like, we've sang this song like 100 times. How do you not know the lyrics?
So
It's just kind of funny.
I'm with you, Kyle. I can't remember lyrics. I have a house in Henderson, Nevada, Vegas, basically, and a house down in LA. And one time I was with a group of friends. We were driving from Vegas to LA. We got stuck in massive traffic. There was like 3 accidents. The trip took 8 hours. And I notoriously get words wrong in songs. So they said, okay, we're going to make a bet that you can't get through your own playlist of music, an entire song, without messing up the words. 8 hours of music later, Kyle, I didn't get through a single song where I knew all the words. So I'm with you on forgetting lyrics. Like
you're making me feel a whole lot better, brother.
Yeah. It's like
I appreciate that.
I've listened to the Joshua Tree, the U2 album, probably 10,000 times. There's not a single song on that album where I know every word for word. It's like, I don't know, my creativity kicks in and I feel like I have better words for the song. So why not use my words?
Man, if you can outright, Bono, then I think you may be in the wrong line of work. So
the problem is I sound like a dying cat when I sing, says my wife from the shower. So can you guys talk about that? Maybe Sarah on your own, and then, Kyle and Marcy is like a duet. You mentioned, Marcy, the writing process. Like, you're kind of the lyricist. I'm guessing Kyle maybe writes the actual formation of the musical instruments and whatnot. But what is the writing process? Because, like, I do a very technical job. It's math, it's spreadsheets, it's a little bit of sales and whatnot. The idea of looking at a blank pad of paper and then like, oh, I'm going to come up with something creative. I mean, my mind just completely draws a blank, I'm looking at you guys right now. And if somebody said, hey, write a story about this family or write a poem about this child, I don't have a creative bone in my body. So can you maybe talk to the writing process of coming up with a song? And then we'll talk about it in the confines of writing a song for somebody.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Absolutely.
You want to go first?
Jump in, Sarah, for sure.
Well, for me, as a creative myself, I definitely think it's different for everybody. I think that's a question that a lot of people ask is like, how do you write a song? Where do you start? And for me personally, I feel like I always have like a topic or a title in mind, just like a basic idea. And then I kind of build around that. And everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, whether it's like Marcy said, like lyrics or melody, and what they can bring to the table. I think collaboration definitely helps because everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses and what allows the song to be created. But honestly, it's different with everybody because everyone has their own strategy. Everyone has their own strengths creatively. Like if I sit down at my piano and write a song, I usually have a topic in mind, and melody is my strong suit personally over lyrics. So just the sound of the song is what comes to my head first. And I kind of just start building off of this idea of what the title of the song is going to be. And I'm sure Kyle and Marcy have a different approach. And it's honestly interesting when you do a co-write and you write with someone else, because they're going to have their own things and what they're strong and weak in, but that's what builds the song and makes it amazing. It's actually really cool to get into a room with someone else and you both collaborate as individuals with your own ideas, your own thoughts, and create something beautiful. And it is a process. And a lot of times it can be fast. A lot of times it can be slow. You can get writer's block a lot and kind of get stuck on things. Yeah.
Right.
So that's really my process. But I'm sure Kyle and Marcy, I don't even know it's husband and wife.
When you say the melody, like I'm thinking of, some of my favorite tunes. I'm definitely in that rock genre. I feel like the music you loved when you were 15, 13, that's kind of what sticks. So for me, it's like Guns N' Roses, Pearl Jam, listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin with my dad and stuff, Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's like, I don't know. Let's see. Does the guitar player like create this riff, put down like 3 minutes of music, quote unquote, and then, it's up to Eddie Vedder to come in and write some lyrics that match the music? Or is it more like people will come up with the words and then tell the band, hey, I'm trying to convey a more slow song about love and heartbreak and da-da-da, and here's my 4 stanzas or whatever you call it, and then go write some music for it. Like, how does it work? Or is it different? I don't know. I am so ignorant when it comes to this.
I think that's a good question to have Kyle answer.
Yeah.
Kyle.
How's that work?
Man, it's interesting that you say, oh man, I'm more of like a math person, spreadsheets and everything like that. And you might be surprised to hear me say it. And maybe this is a hot take, but for me, it's all song math. It's all, it's almost none of it is like straight pure out of nothing creation. Everything has a baseline, because what you can do is you can build a structure first and kind of have a template, and then it's more of like a paint by numbers thing. So like you said, guitar player, and then Eddie Vedder comes in kind of scenario. Like, for example, whenever somebody submits a song and they've got their whole story there, we already start with, dumping all the Legos on the floor, and now everything's right there, So from a lyrical perspective, we've also got like a clear direction musically, because let's say it's, country, lighthearted, whatever. The song's more than halfway there already.
Really?
So because then if you think that, the cool thing is, man, like every time you do it, it's brand new. And of course there's a lot of just inspiration that goes into each song, because we never want them to be cookie cutter. And I think each one can feel really unique, but that doesn't mean that you have to reinvent the wheel, because music's been around so long, especially popular music. A chorus is supposed to accomplish a certain thing. A verse should dive really deep and be more like a microscope. And then a chorus should really sum up the feeling of the whole thing. And then the bridge gives you some kind of spin that you maybe didn't think of before. And that makes, puts the third chorus into kind of this new context. And so what I'm saying is, it's a lot more like math than you might imagine. Like, I believe that everybody is creative. I think anybody in every single industry is always problem solving every day. And they're always trying to figure out how to do something in a more efficient way.
Yeah.
And songwriting is exactly that, just kind of reskinned with more of kind of a creative endeavor. So like, for example, maybe you do is just start strumming some chords on the guitar, and then you have a progression, and then kind of a popular Lennon-McCartney rule is just make all the sections different. You know what I mean? So we're like really, really dense, like lyrics, maybe, and then so when you finally get to the chorus, just make it really spaced out, and it doesn't matter. There's no rules. As long as you make each section feel fresh, you win. So it's less intimidating, I think, than people think.
I was going to say too, Scott, that you might be surprised, because a lot of people don't use even real instruments. Like sometimes, like with pop music, even it could just be, what's the word for that, Kyle?
Just like a track, just synths and kind of programmed.
A track with instruments where you can kind of create the instruments, and they're not actually like a live guitar or a live piano and things like that. And then other people track real instruments. But I think for the custom song aspect of it, sometimes it's easier if you have the track and those instruments in like Logic as a program, for instance, things that allows them, to create these songs. But then also with the custom songs, like he was saying, we're kind of giving them a template of a place to start, right? So they have, the style of music, they have the story, they have, if they, want it to be upbeat or happy. And so that kind of allows them to create something out of nothing.
Hey, this quick interruption is brought to you by me, Scott Groves, the host of the On the Edge podcast. This podcast is brought to you by me. I'm a loan officer who can help you with a mortgage in all 50 states across the United States. I also coach loan officers. So if you are a home buyer who's looking to get a mortgage, if you're a realtor who's looking to partner with an awesome loan officer, or if you're a loan officer looking for coaching, get in touch with me. It's those sources of revenue that allow us to produce this podcast and get out a new episode to you every week for the last couple of years. So if you're looking for a mortgage, if you're looking for a mortgage lender to partner with, or you're looking for a mortgage coach, I'm your guy. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So like with that program Logics, or with how you're writing music, when I submitted the thing and I'm like, hey, we kind of like the Lumineers, we like this kind of music. Can you, and excuse my ignorance, I know nothing about music. Can you say like, oh, the Lumineers like to play folksy guitar in C minor, so let me just lay down that guitar track or, electronic sound, and then I'll kind of start to build from there. Is like you said, there's like this math to it. Is it that specific where you're like, oh, I know Green Day only plays these two chords, so I'll just pick those two chords if they like Green Day, and then I think they only play two chords. Every one of their songs sounds the same to me. So is it kind of like that, or are you sitting down and like strumming the guitar and writing lyrics as you go on a pad of paper, like, something out of the movies?
Man, I wish that I could say that we're all geniuses who come up with this amazing original idea every single time.
Right.
But honestly, you really can. the more theory and everything you know.
The baby's singing along. By the way, what's the baby's name? So I don't have to say baby.
His name is Leland.
Leland. Awesome. Leland, this is your first track, man. Your first podcast at 3 months old, 4 months old, 6 months old.
That's right. He's a feature.
Yeah, he is. Awesome.
Yeah.
We love it.
You can get really nerdy about that really fast, and it's I think a lot of musicians are kind of freaked out by theory at the beginning and production and stuff, because to a degree it's like, well, I don't want to put myself inside of a box,
right?
But once you understand all the rules of like, it's really just like you're able to break it down to the DNA of the song and see what the ingredients are, and then take all that stuff and kind of reshuffle the deck. And like, if it's a Lumineers song, I know it's probably going to be kind of a mid-tempo thing with organic instruments and strummy and kind of a certain drum beat. Yeah. And then you just put your own spin on that.
Right. And I was just going to say, and adding to that having those references, like a Lumineers song, or make this track like a Casey Musgrave thing, like you can immediately know where to go. Right. And the vibe and what to do. And the cool thing about music is that chords and chord progression specifically, you can have them all. And so you can literally just create, redo it, recreate over and over and over again until you really just like it.
So what is the reason why all Christian rock sounds exactly the same? Since this was in your genre, like,
I don't know if we have time to break that.
I mean, I can be turning the dial. Well, now I have Sirius FM on my truck, so I can listen to the same radio station cross country. But I remember taking road trips in my youth, maybe 20 years ago, and you just be strumming through the dial or whatever, trying to find a station because you're driving through some area you don't know, and you hit a station, and literally within 4 seconds, you're like, oh, Christian rock station. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why all Christian rock sounds exactly the same. So, Marcy, tell me why all Christian rock sounds the same.
I'd love to hear this.
Because they can't come up with anything original. That's what I think. It's like, come on,
she's just coming out swinging.
Sorry.
Coming out swinging.
Well, and I think that they're like, everybody's like, oh, well, this worked, so let's repeat that formula and do that.
Yeah.
And so, everybody falls into that trap. Well, this worked for so-and-so. Let's make the same thing.
Totally.
And sometimes it works because some people's voices and tones are really unique. But I tend to lean more towards, well, what's really unique? What stands out about this person's music? And so, I definitely, I'm not drawn to the music that sounds all the same. I want to listen to something that's so unique, because that to me is just really original and creative and where people shine, actually. So
I love this. And I'd love a follow-up question. And Marcy, maybe Kyle already answered this a little bit by saying, hey, when we throw the Legos all out on the floor, we've kind of got a template. We kind of know how the math and the spreadsheet fits together in music. But what's it like having to write lyrics under a time constraint? Because obviously I put in an order, I pay my money. You guys kind of guarantee that it's back in a certain amount of time. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I especially can't imagine being creative under a time crunch. And one of the things I most appreciated about the lyrics you wrote is like, it didn't feel forced. Like, all right, I got to sneak in Gabriel's name in there. I got to sneak in Alina's name in there. It felt like, oh, this is just like a flowy song she wrote about her own family that she's kind of had meandering in the back of her mind for 6 months, right? It didn't feel like, oh, we've got 48 hours to get this song out. And I was like, quite frankly, I was shocked when I got the email delivery, because I'm like, yeah, they say it's going to be done in a week. No chance. I'll find this in 2 months. So what's that process of like being creative under a time crunch?
Sometimes time crunches can help the creative process. Not always, but sometimes it does. But I will say, like, I do think that the details that customers want in their songs, it actually almost writes itself. So like,
spoken like a true artist, no, it just writes itself. I'm so awesome. It just comes to me.
Well, and just there's always a new way to say something too. And so, like, there's a new way to say, there's always a fresh way to say, I've been married to you for 10 years and I still love you and I'm still going to choose you,
Right.
So you just kind of have to choose kind of an angle, choose like get on that page first. I would say, what angle am I going to go with, and then just nail into that, because sometimes it can be very vague as far as love songs, anniversaries, and all those things. But you just kind of have to turn that twist. And I feel like as far as the time crunch, you just I don't know, Kyle, maybe you can speak more into this, but you just kind of have to really put your brain cells together and like try to make it happen within that time frame. But really it's kind of, I feel like you just go for that angle.
I love
That's what I would say first. What would you say?
I would say,
Kyle?
Scott, that I appreciate you saying that, because I feel like I'm just hearing your experience. Just because I feel like this is why we've been very strategic with who we let on the roster and keeping the roster more intimate as opposed to opening it up to everybody. Because the thing that we want to be set apart from the other companies is we want to be a premium product. We want to offer professional quality songs. We don't want them to be cheesy. We want them to be heartfelt, meaningful. And I'm really proud to say that honestly, every song that we've done has delivered that.
Yeah.
And I think people notice that, and they notice the difference. They're like, oh, this feels like they've been working on this for a month or two,
Totally.
right? Like it feels like me. It's like they caught what I was wanting to say to my spouse. And so that's one of the things that we really look for, is not only a professional artist, but the quality of the recording and their production strength and the way that they tell the story, because we don't want to just read the words off of the document that they submit on our site. You know, we want to create a story. And Kyle, I'm sure you can speak more to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you said something really important there, which is not to just copy paste the details and kind of make statements. I've found that the songs that move me the most aren't usually just kind of retelling of facts. You know, usually there's some kind of a narrative, something that kind of pulls you close and feels like a real story and a real conversation of, you know, maybe something somebody went through. And so some of the basics are, you know, just painting a little imagery. Even though it's a custom song, for me, I treat it the same way as I would write any other song. I don't separate the two. I take it and say, okay, well, how do we put somebody in the room right away in the first line or two? And then how do we sum up the feeling in the chorus? And if you kind of go by those things, and then you kind of treat the details almost as a bonus, you know, where you're kind of mentioning them along the way, kind of pointing to them as you drive by them, instead of like, I don't know, hopscotch across the river from detail to detail. It can get a little mundane. And so, and honestly, it's a lot more fun as a writer too. It might take a little more horsepower to do that, but it's always worthwhile, because then it feels like it's not necessarily like its own genre, to use like the Christian music example, you know. In a perfect world, we want it to feel like something that's authentic, that we would release on Spotify, you know. And every once in a while there's songs, you know, that come out and we're like, well, I can't say, you know, June 8th, 1967, but other than that, you know, really love this chorus. It really feels like us. And that's our goal, I think, when we're kind of going through.
So when you release my song publicly, do I get like some royalties when you guys are rich and famous? Is that how
We'll
it works?
Negotiate that after we stop the recording. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm sure there's some horrible deal I can strike for royalties that all musicians have to strike. But, you know, Sarah, one of your emails that came through after I ordered, and this is, by the way, just great customer service, even if somebody is in a completely unrelated field. After I made the order, you sent a follow-up email, which I could tell was not like a template BS follow-up email because it had a typo in it. And I make typos all the time. It makes me feel authentic. And it was like, hey, I really have the perfect couple for you. We have a few people on our roster. I think you're going to be really happy with Kyle and Marcy, and, you know, here's their vibe and whatnot. How do you, as the business owner, who's also a creative person, how do you pick like who gets what, who's the right feel? Like that feels like a daunting task to be like, wow, I have 10 creative people who I really love. Like, who gets this order, right? Like that. I mean, that seems tough. Like, how do you parse out business as a owner and as a manager?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, well, again, it can be daunting. It definitely helps that I have a music background. I feel like I can communicate and relate with the artists really easily, and we can all kind of have conversations easily and understand each other well. And a lot of times, the customer, they might pick the artist specifically. And then other times, if they don't pick the artist specifically, I really look at the genre that they're wanting. So if they want country, if they want male specifically,
Right.
Because we do have a more intimate and smaller roster that we've done on purpose, I can immediately think, oh, like I have a country male artist that I know is going to do a great job.
Yes.
In your instance, I feel like because you wanted a duet and things like that, and the vibe that you wanted, the genre that you wanted, honestly, it's been pretty easy for me. I don't know why. I think I've just listened to everybody's music so much that I just kind of immediately know who is right for the part. And honestly, I'm so proud that I can say this. Everyone on our roster does amazing work, but everyone has their own unique style too. And so when a customer comes on and they say, oh, I want maybe more folksy or singer-songwriter, there's maybe one or two that I can pick from that I know is going to do a great job, but I know their style and the feel. And sometimes I'll even read the details just to kind of see who might be best fitted for that song.
So follow-up question, that's once you acquire the client, how are you doing client acquisition? Because this is like such a niche field. And obviously, Kyle and Marcy, they have their job to do. They have their creative endeavors. They're counting on you to bring in the business, which is, it sounds like that might be 90% of the job because they can just whip out a song in 3 days, no problem, because they're artists. Yeah. But how are you doing client acquisition and getting the word out there? Because I got really lucky to hear word of mouth from one of my front row dad brothers, but most men are not in a supportive men's group that's built around family and spouses and kids. So hopefully you've gotten some follow-up orders from people in front row dads. But how are you acquiring clients? How are you getting the word out there about the business?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I love that you found out about it through like a dad group like that. I think that's amazing. Any word of mouth order, I'm like, yes, like that's awesome. Because word of mouth, people talk and I want them to have an amazing experience. And so since they did, then they then referred you to me. Honestly, I mean, we've got ads going, we've got marketing things going, social media. I do all the social media. I'm the main person for the business besides my husband, who's very helpful. But yeah, I mean, ads, social media, marketing, we also try to do local shows around the area, writer rounds where people can come, and we have, a writer round. If people don't know what that is, basically it's like 5 or 6 artists that sit on the stage and we each take a turn playing a song. And we do that at a local venue in Nashville where people are coming to visit, they're tourists. They hear about the business, they hear the artists, they connect with the artists. And that's really been helpful to get business that way because they connect because they see us in person. Amazing. That's been huge. Word of mouth is also huge. But you really have to be strategic. You're right. It is so niche, the business that we're doing. And it's been interesting to see what's trending on Google, how we do marketing, how we target certain, demographics of people, what age group we're looking at. And that's always evolving, right? Like it's never one thing. And so we're constantly having to work and come up with new ideas as to how to target people and get the word out there. Reveal videos, huge. So if you send your reveal video, would love that because people love seeing the experience. They love seeing it firsthand. The artist loves seeing it. I think those are the videos that do the best on social media. Honestly, if you're scrolling and you see people getting surprised by something, it's emotional. People like emotion and seeing surprises and things like that. So it's always a work in progress. It's always something that we're working on and evolving in.
I love that. Maybe we can turn this into an ad somehow where let me ask this question of you, Kyle and Marcy obviously I found the company, I made the order, paid my money, Sarah dished it out to you. Maybe you can walk through now, like what's your process from you get the email order to like track is delivered. Because I'd love to hear kind of what that process is, either logistically or time frame wise. And then we'll splice your answer in with a little segment of my song in the reveal video to Karina, and we'll send that to you so you guys can use that as an ad. So this is like the perfect family portrait. You three are so beautiful. So what's the process? You get the email asking for the song to be created, And then boom, you guys do what?
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. The first thing I do is I'll copy all the info and I'll pull it into Evernote. And honestly, I'm like a big checklist guy. And because I just love like seeing things get done, checked off a list. So every line, every single thing that needs to be included in the song, I'll put a check mark next to it. Because then when you check it off on Evernote, it'll strike through the thing. And I'm like, yes, accomplishment. And so I just like break it down that way until everything's crossed through. And then we'll either like start building a track or just strumming on a guitar or something like that. In the vein of kind of the musical preference. And then from there, usually I'll start with a title. So that's one thing that helps to kind of shoot the trajectory more into song world instead of like fact listing world, is find something interesting that the customer said. And I always like to, if I can, like include it verbatim. Like if they said something really cool that you can kind of, that seems really sincere and it's also like a great image, just build the whole song around that. That way it feels more like a country song or something, you know? And I use that term like just in the songwriting sense, because country is so great about taking one thing and then every lyric kind of bows down to that concept. You know what I mean? And so once you have the title, to be honest with you, I 9 times out of 10 will just write the song straight down. Verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus. And I'll try to change the lyrics of the later choruses just slightly, but repeat the chorus. And then that's pretty much it. Once the whole thing is written, what I'll do that I haven't seen anybody else do, but I just picked it up and started doing it. Now I do it. I was in a country or a Christian writer session yesterday for a CCM artist. And I did this same thing. What I'll do is I'll kind of bold where the lyrics are going to have the chord changes on them, so that when I go back to record it, it's kind of shorthand where I can know exactly where the stresses were without doing a full chord chart. And then once the lyrics are written,
then getting the track, I think.
Then you just track it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You track the music.
Yeah.
And then I'll do my lead vocal first, and then Marcy will come and do her vocal on top of it, which honestly is harder because I've been with the song from the beginning.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so if it's an instance where I was doing more of the writing or versus Marcy doing more of the writing, then she'll have to come in cold. You know, maybe she was watching Leland or something, and then she'll have to come in and essentially learn the song, because it's harder when you're doing harmonies, because you have to learn the melody and then build a harmony part on it kind of in real time. And she's really good at that. She's better at that than I am.
Because you've been doing it. I've been doing it for so long.
So can you explain that part to me, Marcy, for people like myself and all my listeners who are, you know, I can't remember if left brain or right brain is the analytic. What is the melody versus the chorus versus the bridge? Like what are those things, and why are you better at one and Kyle's better at the other? Like it just seems to me like, oh, you're writing a song. Like shouldn't you either be good or not? Can you explain those different pieces of the song?
Well, the chorus is always going to be the thing that people remember.
Okay.
I believe. So you have to hit the chorus home. And you honestly, a lot of times in songwriting, you build the song around that chorus. Yeah. But that's going to be what the song is about. And then the hook at the very end is the title pretty much every time almost.
Got it.
But so for anyone, you know, and then bridge, I'm such a bridge person. I love a good bridge. It's just like, it just knocks it out of the park. Like, you know, for me, every time it's like, oh, yep, that's it. And then you just fall in love with the song almost 10 times more after listening to a bridge. That's my opinion.
So wait, so just so I get this right, when you're thinking of chorus, you're thinking of the Beatles, "She Loves You," yeah, and they repeat that, right? Or
Great
like
example.
"Sweet Child of Mine," obviously "Sweet Child of Mine" is the chorus because it's over and over again. That's the part you remember from the song.
Exactly, that is the part you remember the
Perfect.
most.
Okay,
and honestly, you need to make it as catchy as you possibly can.
Yeah,
so that it does. You will be able to sing it out of the blue, no matter where you are.
Right.
So as far as like the parts though, melody, harmony, how that kind of works with us. I feel like, I don't know, harmony is kind of just came so naturally to me. I mean, not that Kyle isn't good at it either, but it's just like, I don't know.
Like some people have an ear for it, I feel like. And just
Yes.
You don't have to be modest. You can tell me that you're way better than your husband at everything. It's fine.
You're amazing.
Just own it.
No. Trust me, I am not. Like, honestly, Kyle does so much.
So
of
the
work
harmony, is that lyrics or is that the sound of the music? Like, what is the harmony?
So the harmony, well, it's both, really.
Okay.
Let's use your example. So she loves you, yeah. Right. So that's your melody. So
You want me to
one,
say it?
2, harmony, go. She loves you, yeah. There you go.
Got
So
it.
it's just
it's
like-
a vocal part
the
that's
vocal
stacked
part.
on top. That's really close to the melody, but it's
Well done,
different
guys.
notes, and it just
Yes.
I just put her on the spot right there. So
Got
there's
it.
case in
Awesome.
point.
We just got a
No,
copyright violation, but that's fine. You guys are awesome.
I know, Sorry.
honestly.
No, this is
But
awesome.
it really, it adds so much more vocal tones to the song. I love harmony. I think almost every song just adds so much more if there's an extra part added somewhere, and it just I think it just lifts it up a lot more. So I love singing the other parts too. It makes it a lot more fun for me. I love singing melody too. Kyle's really got I feel like he's got like a stronger voice than I do, like volume wise. And so I tend to be like, okay, you need to belt that melody out so that it's really heard.
Yeah.
And I'll sing the harmony to it, and but it'll still sound almost like one voice.
Yeah.
In a sense, like that to me is how a duo should probably sound, is like, yes, you're a duo, but you also are one voice together. Even though you're singing two different parts.
Yeah, buddy.
So
Sorry.
I'll let you. Yeah. Oh, he wants to get to the bridge. So I'll let you guys ruminate on this question when I ask Sarah what is a bridge of a song, and you guys can ruminate on like, tell me what the greatest duets of all time are. So you guys can do that after Sarah explains what's the bridge of the song. That I don't understand that term.
Well, gosh. I feel like the bridge is usually its own unique section. It's different. It's not going to be repeated like the chorus is, right? The chorus you hear over and over again. The first and second verse, they are in between, the chorus, and they each have their own story. But then I almost feel like a bridge is like a third verse, but it kind of just like brings things all together. And it's like, the bridge to me, maybe this isn't like a structure question, but the bridge to me is like, it's like oh gosh, it's like when the song, you're just like, oh yes. Like, it's just like the final finale of the song. It just brings it all together. But I really see it as like a third verse. It's just an extension of the song. And so I feel like usually it goes like first verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Nice. It's that last lyric that you can't quite remember, but you're like, that was the best lyric of the song, but I can't quite remember because it's not the chorus.
Yeah, but it really, like, I feel like it makes the song a whole. I feel like that's what makes the song feel full. And having a bridge I feel like almost every song has a bridge, whether it's 1 line, 2 lines, 4 lines. But yeah, it's an important part of the song for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I was just looking up the name of the song because I was so enamored by the song. I didn't look up the name, but it's More Than Anything is the song that you all wrote for me. So when Kyle said, like, I tried to pull something from your description to make it verbatim the name of the song, now I'm remembering when I put everything in is like, hey, I know we're really busy, but I just want to remind you that you're more important than anything to me. And then boom, Kyle nailed it by pulling out that little piece of information to title the song, to then inform the chorus and the lyrics and the melody. And it was spot on, man. You're good at your job, Kyle. Kudos.
Oh, appreciate it, man. But you did most of the work by, running the thing. So, happy to help.
Yeah.
Sorry, this guy might be tapping out.
Leland's good,
in
man.
a
I need
second.
to run and go get his.
Yeah, if he needs to tap out, we're fine. We got baby noises in the background. We're totally cool. Wouldn't be the first time. I do this in the garage of my house, and frequently my kids will get home from school or jiu-jitsu and just come banging on the garage door and be like, Daddy, let me tell you what happened at jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a podcast. And they're like, okay, edit that out, Dad. I'll see you in a little bit. And I'm like, he's 7 and he shouldn't know what a podcast is. But anyway, I digress. So Kyle, since we got you, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's some of your, since you guys are obviously, creating your own style, but probably have some influences, who are some of the greatest like duets of all time? I mean, obviously I have a recency bias. So that track from A Star Is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga,
I love that song.
That comes to mind because that's just, to me, that's just like a perfect song. I don't know why, it just sounds perfect to me.
It just is.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Perfect. So
that's a great one.
Who are some duets that kill it, or even some rock bands that have like good melody with their backup singer? Like who kills it for you?
Oh man, we get compared to Sonny and Cher a lot.
Love it.
We did a lot of their music on the cruise ship because we were like the 60s and 70s like oldies duo. So we would travel around the ship playing a bunch of like, I don't know, like Crocodile Rock and old like just like pretty much anything that you can think of that was like on vinyl, like just I don't know, like just Dolly Parton and
Kenny
Loggins
Loggins
in the Stream.
Not Kenny Loggins.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
You know who I think you guys, Kyle, I think I've told you this before, but Johnny Swim. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, they're a little bit more recent.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. Might know their music, but I'm not familiar with the name.
Yeah, they're amazing. I think Kyle and Marcy a lot like them. And the Civil Wars. I don't know if that's another.
Yeah, they had their moment for sure.
Yeah,
they were like kind of a moodier, like acoustic duo. That was huge when I was in college. They were so good, but they weren't married, and so sometimes we think, maybe they could have had a little longer career if they were. But
so now that your baby's out of the room and you can cuss openly, tell me about all the horrible things about the music industry, because I can only imagine it's as abusive as all other entertainment industries. I was talking to an artist the other day privately, and he's like, dude, you can have millions of plays on Spotify and make like $1,000. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds horrible. So how do musicians who are up and coming, how do they make money these days? I mean, I imagine the reason U2 and Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones are still touring is because that's the only way to make money in the modern music ecosystem. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe they just love playing music still at 60 years old.
That.
Okay. So tell me the ins and outs of the music industry in 5 minutes.
Go.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'll take this one.
Oh yeah, you Kyle.
I have kind of a different I have a different perspective on that maybe than some artists. I think a lot of people, and my perspective has even changed over the last 4 years. Because I came fresh out of music school, just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just thinking, oh man, I just got to meet that one person and I just got to write the right song. And it's not true. You have to build a business, and you have to have a client acquisition system, and you have to sell people things, because tickets are things. Tickets are just a merchandise item. You're, at the end of the day, as a musician, you're a service provider. And I think people forget that, and that's when they get taken advantage of, and that's probably when they start to tell horror stories,
right?
Because you don't get what you deserve as a musician, you get what you negotiate. And if you have, and it's a business truth.
Say that again.
So you as a person, as a musician, and as a business owner, and life in general, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, right? I learned that really quickly, being in a couple of deals that were not in my favor, that cost me thousands of dollars to get out of. It was a very poignant memory that caused me to think twice about who I work with. Right. And it's the artists that are thinking somebody is going to swoop in and save the day. These are the people that get taken advantage of, versus it's people who break everything down and say, hey, my revenue is coming from 10 different sources. Here's everything to the cent of where my money is coming in. Here's how all of my music, which is property, by the way, here's all my intellectual property. I'm going to treat each of them like a rental house. I'm going to treat each of them like a digital asset that is collecting money from me passively on the side. because then all of a sudden it's not just, oh man, like I have millions of streams and I'm not making money from Spotify. How else are you monetizing your music? If you own that, and if you own the masters or a large percentage of the masters, like we do for our music, we have a team of people that allow us to create music kind of en masse, kind of like a machine, and we own the masters, right? And so then we can go and we can place that for sync, and Spotify should be part of it. But then also you're growing an email list, you're making sales offers to your customers every single month. It's basic digital marketing. Like it's probably very similar to how you guys run the business for Songbird City. I'm a strong proponent for independent artists should be treating their career the same as it's a digital e-commerce business.
Wow.
Because then you're in control. You're not waiting for an A&R to come to your show, which by the way, they don't do anymore. If they're going to sign you, it's because it's insurance against the possibility that you might blow up, because then they don't want you with one of the other two majors. They just want to, you have to build yourself. So if that's the truth, you might as well take a little longer and own the whole pie and own all of the revenue that's created. It's, hope marketing is the reason so many artists are kind of just upset about the whole thing. Is they have this vague notion of I should get paid from somewhere. Maybe, I guess it's only Spotify, or they take the other approach where, I guess the only thing I can do is grind 300 dates a year of touring, which some people enjoy that. I particularly don't. I want to do like 50 to 100 dates max, because we want to take our kids on the road. So it leaves you with the problem of how am I going to make up the rest of that revenue? And until artists want to face that problem head on, they're always going to be just kind of venting about how, the music vision, because it's not the way it was.
Did you learn? Oh, sorry. Did you learn any of that in music school, or are they just doing the creative side and the music side, and then you got to teach yourself business?
Well, if we were going to music school now, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they would teach on some of this stuff. But at that time, no, it's like, hey, here's how hit songwriters wrote songs. Here's how you record a great product. If you're an audio major, here's how you put on a show. Like for our senior recital, we had to put on an entire show, write everything, score everything out. Like it was very heavy on the performance side. And now granted, the elephant in the room is the song has to be good and the artist has to be good. Like that should be a given, but it's not enough. That's the problem. We weren't taught how to make money.
Those are table stakes, right? There's some guy from Jersey toiling away at 70 years old, still playing coffee shops, who could have been Bruce Springsteen. But he didn't grow his own business. He didn't treat it like an e-commerce business, which I know that was a different time when Bruce Springsteen was coming up, but I'm just using that as a parallel. I love what you said, that we don't, as human beings, as business people, we don't get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate, or we get what we work for. So I love this concept of, you're like, I got to build an email list, man. You want to sell stuff? Email list is still the way to do it. So Sarah, what do you have to add on to that? Because I thought that was super insightful. Right on. That's going to be a clip, Kyle. But what do you have to add on to that, Sarah?
I mean, gosh, for one, like what a great attitude to have about it, right? Because no one's going to be, oh my gosh, my dog is barking. Who's going to actually
hear it? Can't hear it.
Can't hear you. Good.
Oh, good. Okay. Who's going to be a bigger advocate for you than yourself, right? With anything in life, as a musician, as an artist, as a business owner, like you're going to be your biggest champion. But I think having the right perspective and attitude about it, like what Kyle said, like it's more than just, oh, Spotify's not paying me enough, or I'm doing this. Like you really have to work for what you love. And as a musician, as an artist, you have to have thick skin. You have to persevere. You have to really believe in your product, believe in yourself, and also have your identity, not just in what you're doing. I think that's really important to keep you grounded. Is this isn't my everything. This isn't who I am as a person as a whole, like family, like having other things, God, whatever that looks like. But I just think perspective is everything in life in general. But as an artist and as a musician, I think for you to be happy and enjoy what you're doing long-term is doing like what Kyle said. And also just understanding that, it's not going to happen overnight, understanding that it's a journey and it's a process. And, I think having good people in your corner is huge as well. But, you've got to keep the fire and the passion for it alive. And I think when you have the right perspective and the right attitude about that, and you don't just have an attitude of like, oh, I deserve this, or I've earned this, or, I'm this good, because everybody's good. Everybody's talented.
That's a good word, Sarah.
But honestly, I think the people that make it and the people that stick with it are the people that have the right people in their corner, have the right perspective and the right attitude. Because you could be a victim all day long, and but it's the people that stick with it and have the right attitude that are gonna see the win.
I love that.
That was so good.
Yeah, attitude is key.
It's key.
It's
it's not to say that it's not hard. I mean, I've been very vocal about how I've got burnt out as an artist and as a songwriter, but also because it was only about me, right? Like I was pursuing something just for me. And I think when you can bring other people on the journey and you make it about other people too, it's more rewarding.
Absolutely.
I love
Because you can really get bitter in this industry.
Absolutely. And you can think that you're owed something, right? Like,
right.
I was going to say that. Yeah. That's so strong. Yeah.
Yeah. I deserve this. I've been here. Like they call Nashville a 10-year town a lot, that it takes 10 years, and, I knew a girl back when I was interning, she's 12, 13 years in. And now she was just nominated the new artist of the year, but she's been grinding it out that long, and she's had the right attitude and the right perspective to where now she is seeing that success and that fruit.
Yeah. It takes 12 years to become an overnight success, right?
That's so good. Yeah.
And Marcy, can you talk a little bit to that? Like Kyle mentioned, knowing where like every dollar is coming from. Can you talk about some different ways that you can monetize music these days? Because, luckily we have the social media and the Spotify's and the Songbird cities and stuff like that. And, you don't have to go into any of your personal finances, but can you just talk about some avenues where you guys can monetize money? Like, is it like, all right, $20 to play the church service and $100 to play, this Nashville bar and $200 to write this song? Like, where are the ways that you guys are generating revenue with this business?
I mean, we're still on a journey to figure all of it out because that's kind of like it's kind of difficult where you're having to do the other side jobs in order to fund the dream job.
Right.
Wow. So, but right now what we found how to monetize it is, well, like Kyle was talking a lot about, making it e-commerce business, running ads and everything. The hope is that when you do those things and you're putting yourself out there, that people will click on your thing. They will either buy your merchandise if you have it. They will buy a ticket to your show if you're playing, which I think right now is like huge for any artist right now. Is you need to have some merchandise, and then you need to be playing some shows wherever you can that hopefully Lord willing would pay.
Right.
But trust me, we've done the gigs that do not pay anything. We've done them. We've done it all. And so we've kind of made, a pact with ourselves, no more unpaid gigs.
Right.
So I would say merchandise, gigs. And now with the, playlisting, Spotify, Apple Music, all those things, if you do have a good team behind you, you can actually see some revenue come in with that. It just kind of depends on how well the song does and how well it is marketed, and how well it is pushed. So, but monetization, I feel like, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sync is something we want to get into.
Yes.
What is sync for the ignorant musicians?
It stands for synchronization.
Okay.
So TV, film. I know, Sarah, you've got a background in this, so maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah. Sync is really just like anytime you hear sync music all the time, you just don't know it. So if you're listening to a commercial, you're listening to an ad on TV for a car or whatever, a Lexus, and you hear someone's voice in the background, that's considered sync music. TV placements, Grey's Anatomy, you hear songs on Grey's Anatomy, things like that. Those are all artists that are writing music for those episodes to get their music on TV. And that can be a great form of income.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I know you guys have kids and dogs and professional commitments and whatnot, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. I just want to finish on three questions for you guys. I always finish with 2 questions, but for you all, I'm going to finish with 3 questions. Question 1 is, and feel free to take this in any order or just take a pass. What you're looking forward to? This is going to come out, summer of 2023. What you're looking forward to going into the second half of the year or the end of the year, and then I always like to ask people what their favorite movie is and why, because I feel like you can learn so much about somebody with their favorite movie. But for you all, it would only be appropriate if I ask, who's your favorite musician and or favorite song of all time and why. So any one of you want to start? Like, what are you looking forward to the second half of the year? Favorite movie and favorite song and or musician. I'd love to just roundtable that with the 3 of you.
Yeah. Sarah, I'd say start us off. Put you on the spot here.
Oh no. Honestly, as a songwriter, I'm like, when people ask me who my like inspiration artist is, I can never answer that question because so many people,
it's clearly Insane Clown Posse, right? Like you're kind of like a rock rap type of girl, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. Gosh, honestly, I'll just say who I've been listening to the most recently is a band called Surfaces. Maybe nobody knows who that is, but they're just a very feel good, chill, positive music. I can put it on. It puts me in a good mood. I love listening to them. I've seen them in concert. They actually did the song Sunday Best, which I'm sure everybody
got it.
But they're kind of an up and coming. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a bop. It's so good. And then what I'm looking forward to this next year, business wise, personally, whichever, go whichever
direction you want.
Gosh, I'm looking forward to a vacation that I'm taking with my whole family.
Nice.
This summer.
Nice. Where are you going?
Yeah. Florida.
Perfect. Of course. Everybody goes to Florida.
Florida and Tennessee. So we can drive there and be there in a day. So
and favorite movie of all time?
Oh God.
No, nothing.
I'm afraid I'm going to say like a girl movie. And
no, go for it. I have many girl movie. Like The Notebook is in my top 10. So don't worry. Like my man card frequently gets revoked because I love the movie and the book, The Notebook. So go for it.
Oh man. I honestly love any Nancy Meyer movies. So It's Complicated, The Intern with Anne Hathaway, any of those like feel good, heartfelt movies.
You will not believe this. Our interview yesterday, we've done 160 of these. I had never heard of the movie It's Complicated. That was one of our interviewers yesterday said It's Complicated. Like, I just love that movie so much. It's so like apropos to my life and living in Santa Barbara. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, it's complicated, which is funny because she's happily married, never been divorced. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting that that's your favorite movie. Yeah. But
well, that director, she's done like Parent Trap. Like she has done all these movies they all have like the same vibe, just like a feel good, funny.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, it was the remake of The Parent Trap, not the classic original, right? Okay, there you go.
The remake, Lindsay Lohan.
All right, Kyle and Marcy, anything you're looking forward to the second half of the year, and then favorite movie or favorite musician?
Okay, I'm looking forward to our new release and releases that we have coming up, which we're excited about because we're kind of getting out of the newborn fog. And so we're like, let's release some music.
Nice.
We have a new song coming out. It's called Famous. It's coming out next Friday. And then we plan to release several more singles throughout this year. And so, yeah, we're stoked about new music and just putting content out there, getting seen, hopefully getting to play some more shows.
And promote your band. What's your duet called and where should people find you?
We're called Suitcase Souls, and you can find us anywhere, Instagram, Facebook at Suitcase Souls. And we're really excited about new music because we've kind of like been this folk thing for a while, but now I feel like we're changing our sound and it's just going to be more singer-songwriter pop stuff. And we're excited about that and turning a little chapter. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And then as far as like favorite artist, it's very hard to say because I listen to so many people and it's based off of my moods, like what I'm in the mood to listen to. But I will say that Taylor Swift is queen, probably.
There you go.
I was gonna say Taylor Swift, Marcy, so I'm glad you said it.
Okay. Because
No, I put her in that like
write.
I put her in that
the songwriter that she is.
Yes.
Yeah, I put her in that like Justin Timberlake, Michael Jackson, Prince, where it's like even if you aren't a huge fan of the music, like you just can't deny what an amazing performer there are. Like
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not rocking out to Taylor Swift, but if you hear a song or you see her in concert, you're like, oh, I can't not like this
Exactly.
energy. I got
Exactly.
dragged kicking and screaming by an ex-girlfriend to a Prince show, and I'm like, thank God I went because it was right before he passed. And I'm like, that's the best concert I've ever been to. This little 4'10" dude played 30 different instruments over the course of 3 hours. He's the most amazing performer ever. Why have I not been a bigger Prince fan my entire life? And I kind of put Taylor Swift in that same genre.
Yes, and Prince is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad that you got on the Prince train. But so Taylor, she just writes. I mean, she can write the phone book or sing the phone book, and it'd be good, and I would listen to it. I would.
I'm with you.
And her shows, I went to her Era's tour show, and it's just like it was a 3.5 hour show, and it's just like, dude, song after song after song. She doesn't miss a beat, and she's not even tired. Like it's insane. So much respect for her and her music, the songs she writes. It's really cool. I grew up with her, so it's fun.
Awesome.
Favorite movie? I'm probably. I feel like there's like maybe two.
Go for it. Give us both.
Okay, Emperor's New Groove.
Okay.
Have you
love
seen
it.
that?
Yes.
It is truly one of the best movies of all time. My husband and I, we quote it almost every day.
I'm with you.
And then I love Forrest Gump because
That is true.
I feel like I could watch that movie and just never get tired of it, and it always puts me in a good mood, like always.
And an amazing soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack. The soundtrack. And I'm a huge Tom Hanks fan. It's just all around such a good movie, good vibe. Okay.
All right, Kyle, close us up. Musician, band, and what you're looking forward to. Or musician, movie, and what you're looking forward to.
I love it. I think Chris Stapleton is one of my favorites because he's just such a great writer.
Yes.
And he wrote for so long, and he's got this insane voice, but he was kind of a secret for years.
Yes.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he just came out and just took over the whole world.
Yeah.
And oh man, he's just got so much control, and just a great singer, but also just a killer performer as well. He's on my list of like, if he comes and plays a stadium show here, we will be there.
Amazing. Love it.
So like from country world, I love him. He's so great. For like alternative singer-songwriter world, like what we're trying to pursue, I think Ben Rector is my favorite. I've listened to him since college, and he's just such a great storyteller. But he's also like, the sound is like a little bit retro, but kind of a modern spin in kind of the pop world. And so like when we're writing songs, especially for this new record we're working on, he's like our target all day long. Just so cool, so poppy. Anyway, and he's got a great show as well. We've seen him in concert several times. So
love it.
Yeah. So favorite movie, man, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go with one like from my childhood, which is like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
There we
he
go.
loves that.
I just love it. I don't know why, but I can like,
because Johnny Depp's the
every
man.
line. Johnny Depp
Like
is
that,
hilarious.
That character is the man that every 14-year-old boy wants to be, right? Like
100%.
it's just he's I'm
Full
with
on
you.
like reckless man child that everything kind of works out for, even though you completely defy every authority figure in your life. Maybe that's what it was, because I was probably around 14 when I saw it.
Yeah, the path
And
less
so-
taken. You want to defy authority. That's a great
right.
movie.
And it somehow just all works out for you every time. Yeah, maybe that was the appeal.
I love it.
But yeah. And then as far as what I'm looking forward to, honestly, we are in a grind season. I feel like I'm starting like 3 new businesses at the same time, and we're working on our music career, and I'm starting to do video for artists, and it's a crazy season for us. But it's so good. It's so good because, like we were talking about earlier in the conversation, like just after having done so many like jobs and careers that take you away from music, to get back on a path that's just headed straight for it, it's a harder path, but it's so much more rewarding because it can all still flex and we can spend time, doing what we want. Cause our dream is, I mean, we want to sell out the Ryman someday. That's one of our like big high up on the mirror, like goals. And, we're just looking forward to Leland growing up a little bit and him, being able to appreciate kind of the music world, whether he wants to be in it or not. If he wants to be an accountant, I will praise that all day long.
I will tell you, the first 2 years are a total blur. I remember almost nothing from my kids from those first 2 years.
Wow.
And then it's like, as soon as they get a little bit of personality and some words, you're like, oh, this is the most amazing thing ever. So
we're so looking forward to it. We've heard that from so many parents. And so we're stoked about it.
Well, you guys are in for a wild ride. Thank you for being on. Thanks for delivering an awesome song for my wife. I appreciate you guys more than you know. And I'm following you guys on social media, so I'll push out your new songs when they come out. Sarah, I will continue to refer your business. We'll get some cool social media clips out so you can grow that business because it's something special. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. We've so enjoyed it.
We'll be in touch when we're ready to release.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.